And a very good evening to you, and welcome to this evening's edition of Politics 101. David Hinds here with you on a Wednesday evening. I would like to welcome you all to the program, wherever you are joining us from. Whether you're joining us from our homeland in Guyana, of course, or you are joining us from further afield in the diaspora, and of course, the Guyanese diaspora is quite extensive. If you're joining us from the wider Caribbean, welcome to Politics 101. On a Wednesday evening, another big show tonight. We are going to be continuing with that conversation on whether Guyana is an emerging apartheid state. Whether Guyana is an emerging apartheid state. You know that word apartheid is sending shivers through the PPP regime. We are going to be continuing that discussion this evening. David Hinds here with you. If you're joining us from Trinidad and Tobago or Barbados, lots of our people in Antigua, St. Kitts, Nevis, wherever you're joining us from in our beloved Caribbean, welcome to Politics 101. I cannot do Sherrod Duncan. So I am asking you in my own way, please share the link. We've been doing well in sharing the link. Please do so tonight. Our guest is going to be Mr. Leland Saul. He was the former CEO of the Central Housing and Planning Authority. He was, of course, one of the first public servants to be fired when the government took power in August 2020. He was fired within a week or two of the new government taking office. And we saw Freddie Kissoon taking aim at him this past week. Well, Leon is going to be on with us tonight to talk about his experience working with the regime and his experience since the government came to power. What led to his firing? What has happened since? And then we're going to get down into this business of Guyana being an emerging apartheid state. That's the conversation tonight. If you're joining us from New York, they call it the Big Apple. If you're joining us from there, welcome. Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, further afield, welcome to Politics 101, New Jersey, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia. Some of you are out there in Boston. It's going to get cold in a couple of weeks out there. Welcome to Politics 101. Good evening, Kwesi. Welcome to Politics 101, Yvonne. And Peggy, of course, joining us from Maryland. One of my homes. I spent 12 years there in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia area before I moved out to the West Coast. Still consider it one of my homes because that's where all my people are. My siblings, my mother, they're all there, and I do visit as often as I can. Still consider Maryland to be my home, one of my homes. Welcome to Politics 101. If you're joining us from Knoxville, Tennessee is in the house. You see, Guyanese people are all over the place. I used to visit Tennessee. I had some friends down there in Mount Pleasant. Down there, used to get some good wild meat there, and used to be a lot of deer there. Knoxville, Tennessee. I visited University of Knoxville. I think it is. I had a friend who lectured there many years ago. but you would pass Knoxville when you're driving from Maryland, going down that way. London, London in the house. Good old London. Sparrow said, London Bridge is falling down. But you know, our people went there to prop it up and so forth. Welcome to Politics 101. And if you are in Guyana, of course, on the east coast of the Demerara, where I'm from, Georgetown, Linden, the good people of Linden. Whether you're from the Essequibo, welcome to Politics 101, Quarantine. West Bobbies, my favorite area. Hello to the people of Balladrum, Hopetown. Welcome to Politics 101 tonight. We are going to be continuing this conversation. For those of you who are just joining us, on the weekend, Coffee 250 is an organization that was founded by a few of us in 2013. It was, of course, the 250th anniversary of the 1763 rebellion. Some call it a revolution that was led by coffee. And so a few of us formed the Coffee 250 committee to commemorate the 250th anniversary of that uprising. And we decided to make it a permanent committee. In 2013, August, we launched the State of the African Guyanese Forum. And we have had a forum each year since then. And the objective of the forum is to take stock of where African Guyanese are and to plan going forward. And we have assembled over the years all of our scholars, our activists, our politicians, our thinkers. We have brought them together to address the issue of the condition of African Guyanese. We feel that emancipation came in 1838, and our people never really had time to sit down and to take stock of what happened in the previous 250 years. Because from slavery, instead of plunging into real freedom, we went from slavery to colonialism. And we had to confront colonialism for another 150 years, 50 odd years. And so there was not time. When independence came in 1966, we had to plunge into nation building, turning a plantation into a nation, building a new society. And we had to do that with other groups who came after emancipation. And as we tried to build a nation, we did not spend enough time as African people trying to figure out what we want of this new nation called Guyana. Of course, we had ASCREA, which was the leading African organization at the time. And it was the time of the Black Power movement. And the Black Power movement raised certain questions and made certain recommendations. But our governments in those first decades of independence were engaged, as I said, in trying to build this new multi-ethnic nation. We were trying to create an education system for the ordinary people. We were trying to pull together healthcare. And as African people, we did not spend enough time talking about our own condition and asking, what do we want of the new nation? We have to become the policemen and women. We have to become the soldiers. Brother Leland, who's coming on, before he went to the central housing and planning, he was a soldier. I think he came out of the army as a colonel. So our boys and girls, young men and women, had to go into the army and the police and the armed forces because others don't want to go there. We have to become the teachers of the nation. We have to become the nurses. We have to become the bauxite workers. We have to go in the bush and be the pork knockers. And we were doing all of that without any repayment for the 400 years that we were either not paid or underpaid. And by the time we got to the 1980s and the 1990s, and we got to the turn of the new century, the new millennium, we realized that the gains that we made after emancipation were being whittled away. Our villages, which are the bedrock of the new Guyana, our village economy was floundering. And so we had to take stock of where we are, where we were. And that is what Coffee 250 came into being to do. To take stock of where we are. And this year, when we look at Guyana and what has happened in the 2 years, we decided that the country had all the signs of apartheid. Apartheid means apart. People living apart. We all know that inclusiveness, inclusive governance is absent from Guyana. Brother Ralph Ramkaran, who, has not always seen eye to eye with the opposition, he said a couple of weekends ago, inclusive governance is dead. Basically making the point that African Guyanese do not feel included. I've had the opportunity in 3 months visiting various communities across Guyana, and I can feel it, I can hear it from people. African Guyanese do not feel included in Guyana. And if you're not included, it means you are not a part of Guyana, and you're treated as if you are apart from everybody else. And that is what apartheid means. And so we decided that this year, our theme would be confronting the emerging apartheid state. You see, one doesn't wake up one day and say, here I am, I'm an apartheid state. We know the 3 best known apartheid states were segregation, beginning in the 1860s and ended in the 1960s in the United States of America. We know of Nazism for a few years in Germany, and we know of apartheid for over a century in South Africa. And so our people, African people, are conscious of what apartheid is. We are conscious about what segregation is. We know when we are treated apart from others. And the Attorney General went into top gear. The Attorney General, the highest legal officer of the government, the legal advisor of the government. Not a little poo-poo, not Kwame McCoy. The Attorney General Anil Nandlal came out swinging. Guyana is not an apartheid state. If you all go ahead with this conference, we will lock you all up. And he's carrying on. And he cited all the laws that shows that Guyana is not an apartheid state. And he'll forget that it's not he alone went to law school. And he's saying Guyana is not an apartheid state by law. But we are saying to him, Guyana is an apartheid state by practice, de facto. Apartheid. De facto means in fact. De jure means by law. And this morning, Brother Kofi told us, enlightened us, that although the laws do not say that Guyana is an apartheid state, the fact is that the government is manipulating the laws in an apartheid way. I was on Boston Morning Time this morning, and I understood then what the PPP is afraid of. All of a sudden, people were calling in and saying, yes, what I'm experiencing every day is apartheid. That is why they are afraid of Black organizations, brave Black organizations, brave Black thinkers and scholars and activists. Because we will enlighten people. It is not that people don't know they're living under apartheid. But what we do is that we open it for them, and then people say, yes, I always knew this. And the PPP understand that when we say we are living in an emerging apartheid state, we are opening a can of worms that will not be closed back. And they try to close it down. And this Sunday, we are going to hold that forum, and I want you all to come out in your numbers. They want to determine for us who are our leaders. They want to tell us who we should follow. We got leaders and we can determine our own leaders. They want to tell young Black people, look, accept your second-class citizenship. Accept your apartheid condition. Accept living in your so-called townships. We're not putting the chains on your feet. We want to chain your mind. Accept your chains. And oh God, the David Hinds of this world and Vincent Alexander and the Coffee 250, we are saying, you ain't putting on those chains. You are not putting on those chains. We are standing at the gate of the plantation and turn you right back if you decide that that's where you want to go. Here we are, 184 years later, new so-called masses want to use oil wealth to re-enslave us. Oil wealth is supposed to liberate us, free us more, take us closer to the promised land. But instead, they want to use the oil wealth to re-enslave us. Marcus Garvey, speaking in 1937, in Menelik Hall, Nova Scotia, to some West Indians there, uttered the words, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but yourself can free your mind." Bob Marley took those words and turned them into song. But they are the words of Marcus Messiah Garvey. We ain't gonna let nobody turn us around and lead us back to the slave plantation. That's what the PPP leaders want. They can't put us on a boat and send us back to Africa. They decide that we're going to stay here, but they're going to put the chains around us. Every time they bring a hamper, it's a chain. Brother Bob said, every time I hear the crack of the whip, my blood runs cold. Every time I see a hamper, my blood runs cold, because that's a chain around our feet again. Every time I see an outreach and giving Black people $10,000, my blood runs cold, because that's the slave chain again. And we're not going back in chains. If some of you want to walk that walk back, we're not allowing you all to do it. Welcome to Politics 101. We're on fire tonight. We're on fire tonight, as we always are. We never stop being teachers. We never stop being the conscience of the world. When you push us right down to the bottom, and we lift up ourselves, we lift up others. But those who we lift up don't want to push us right down back. And we are saying no. We are saying no. And they don't want to see us tell us. They don't want us to say no. I guess tonight, Mr. Leland Saul, former soldier, defend this country, protect all of the people of this country. When the soldiers and the army, in the army, and when they're defending Guyana, they're not just defending Black people, they're defending all of Guyana. And now they want to use the army against Black people. We got work to do, plenty work to do. Brother Leland Saul is going to join us now. Brother from Belgium, place of culture. Brother Leland, welcome to Politics 101.
Good night, Dr. Hinds. Good night, listeners.
And thank you for coming on here. I was doing some research today and I realized that you were one of the first public servants to be fired when the PPP government came to power. I think by the 20 somebody you were already fired. They had come to power on the 3rd of August, and before the end of the month you were gone. Take us back to that moment, that period.
Okay, it was on the 25th of August. Incidentally, it was my birthday. So tomorrow is my birthday. So tomorrow I will be celebrating.
Oh, happy birthday to you.
2 years of that unceremonious dismissal, you know, and sometimes I believe that when these things happen, it is not a coincidence. I think it was deliberate, you know, because they must have known it was my birthday. But like anything else, I was prepared for that because I understand the nature of the PPP, the type of politics and the way how the party conducts its politics. And I believe um, this is enabled by the Westminster style of government that we have, which has one of the major weaknesses is the tyranny of the majority, where those who govern, they basically govern in the interest of their constituency. They exclusively govern in that interest at the expense of the minority. And so, if we are to move forward, we must, I believe, embrace some form of consociational democracy. And so, you have all the groups must be involved in the governance of this country because we are living in a plural state. Or if we don't do that, in next 100 years from now, I guess my descendant will be having the same type of conversation and discussion, especially when you have a vicious group like the PPP that is governing, and we know that they're not concerned about Afro-Guyanese. And if you are to do an assessment of how resources are being allocated, you will recognize what is going on. One only needs to look at, for example, the public infrastructure work, areas where roads are being built, and you would recognize the majority of the areas are in the PPP stronghold. And then when you come to certain areas like Georgetown, South Georgetown, you will be surprised to see the state of infrastructure. And not only that, when you look at the financial relief measures that were given out in the agriculture sector, um, in relation to what is taking place in the public sector employee, one can only conclude that there is a deliberate attempt to marginalize and emasculate Afro-Guyanese. And people don't want to hear about this. When you talk about it, you're being branded a racist, but I'm not a racist. I don't have time for foolishness. I am dealing here with facts. And so when you talk, and if you say that we are actually living in an apartheid state, people get angry about that. But they're not experiencing the things that Afro-Guyanese are experiencing. And therefore, you have to experience what Afro-Guyanese are experiencing, and then you will understand what Afro-Guyanese are saying. And I am very much pleased that the Coffee 250 will be hosting that forum. I think it's a good thing, and we should not back down. We know what we are experiencing. And I would like to ask all um, Guyanese to support that event, regardless of your race. We must come out and we must support it. And we must empathize with the Afro-Guyanese. And thank you.
Thank you, Brother Leland. And we have this post in here, the racism is so blatant at GRA. And there's absolutely no redress, even those in the Human Resource Division. It's powerless and helpless in addressing staff concerns with regards to racism. Some of the Indian heads are emboldened to do patently practice racism. One of the racists said that he does not care when told by one of the Indian colleagues to act fairly. And this is quite instructive that in every area of life in the country, that kind of racism has seeped into and now become so normative. And that is why they don't want us to speak out. They don't want us to raise this issue. But as I said a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to torment them on the issue of race. I'm going to torment them until we see their backs. Leland, you are from West Babis. I was up there with you. I spent Emancipation Day with you and Brother Lincoln and West Babis. You all are both from that area. Tell us what's happening there on West Babis. Tell us what's happening with the rice farmers. Tell us what's happening there with people's lands. Because I learned so much about the apartheid regime and its action at West Babis. Talk to us.
Okay, let me address the issue first of agriculture.
Uh-huh.
During last year, there were some challenges because of the rainy season. As a result, the government stepped in and some relief measures were put in place. I can tell you, unfortunately, the majority of Afro rice farmers did not receive any financial relief. I did some investigation and I subsequently learned that there were persons who were not even residing in Guyana travel back to Guyana and receive financial compensation. I would have submit my name 4 times, 4 to 5 times, but to no avail. I
Leland, stop,
know.
stop, stop. Hold on, hold on. Leland Saul, I know you do farming there. You submitted your name. You are not a random person. You're not an unknown person. You submitted your name 4 to 5 times and you weren't given relief.
I was not. I was not even told why.
Ah,
You know, and so there were many other Afro rice farmers who suffered the same fate. And basically, what the government did, the government is very smart, and so there were several cash crop farmers and poultry farmers, Afro Guyanese, and so they give them money, a small amount, maybe a 50,000 or a 75,000. I see it has been some form of appeasement and containment. So you cannot say that you didn't get anything. But those who benefit from the large amount of monies are the rice farmers, and they're predominantly Indo rice farmers, right? I also want to address another issue in relation to Belgium. And government had planned a project to drain the area west of the Abari River. And in doing so, they had come up with a plan to bring the water across to the eastern bank and pass the water through Belgium and El Dorado. They were in the process of executing the project, and we asked them to stop because they did not consult with us. During that time, we discovered at an earlier date they would have already constructed a canal and an embankment on transported land. I personally would have written them and asked them to address this issue. Unfortunately, I did not receive an or any acknowledgement from the MMA ADA, that is the Mahaica Maikoni Abari Agricultural Development Authority, which falls under the Ministry of Agriculture. And that is the way they're treating people. We have issues. I know in many villages, people want to go back to farming, but we need that assistance. I personally would have drafted a project document. I give it to someone who is close to the ruling party so that an agriculture project can be executed in the backlands of El Dorado. I'm still waiting. I guess maybe because my name is on the document. And that is what we are facing. You know, I believe that when you're governing a country, you rule for everyone regardless of the race. But this government, as This government has been ruling in a partisan manner, and there is no question about that. And they're downright wicked, and they must stop that. And we, as Afro Guyanese, must fight against that. We must demand to be treated fairly, and we cannot sit back. And once they attack us, we must attack them too. Simple and straightforward. We must not be coward, right? If our ancestors were weak, perhaps we would have still been enslaved.
Slave.
And we must not tolerate nonsense from people.
Brother Leland Saul there of Belgium, El Dorado area, Twin Villages. Speaking out here tonight on Politics 101, I want to welcome all of you to the program wherever you're joining us from. I noticed my brother Orin Newton from Buxton. Had a chance to spend some time with him after years. We got to spend some time. Welcome, my brother, and all the Buxtonians on the program. Welcome. Welcome to Politics 101. You know, they're worried about Buxton because they feel that they can manipulate you all. So, you know, they're trying to get David Hinds out of the way because they think that I'm standing in the way. I'm not standing in the way because I know Buxton know the story. I don't have to shoot Buxton. Buxton knows his business. Welcome to Politics of 101. Those of you from Buxton, Keith B. from New Jersey. Welcome to Politics 101. I want to wish my brother George Hinds happy birthday. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday, George. He's out there in Maryland. I know you're all going to be catching up tonight and doing some birthday thing. Welcome to Politics 101. Leland, you addressed some of the difficulties that people are having here in West Bobis. West Bobis erupted in righteous indignation shortly after the Henry boys were murdered, and in a sense set the tone and drew Guyana's attention to what was to come. We have not had justice for the Henry boys. What are people saying about that issue on West Bobis?
I think the people are very much disappointed because, you know, the investigation is the opinion of people that the investigation was poorly conducted and the state did not make use of the best investigators. I think that they would have brought in persons from the regional security system, and those persons would have declared that the Ghana Police Force is competent to handle the investigation. But as far as I know, the regional security system is basically designed to deal with disaster, and that is why it was set up, and also to maintain law and order should there be any unrest in the member states. But the main focus is to deal with disaster. I'm not aware if the regional security system, if the system has that capacity to conduct such investigation. And even as I speak on that, I think I noticed they're coming again to deal with the ongoing issue here.
Yes.
And I really don't believe they have the capacity to do that. You know, sometimes we have to be fair and we have to deal with issue frontally and don't go around it and try to just appease people. You know, people want people want results and they want something that will work, and therefore we must do the right thing to ensure that we have the desired results that we really need. And so we are still waiting in West Berbice, and really, I am not optimistic that anything positive will come out of this investigation. I am not convinced that those who are placed before the court, that they are the culprits.
Those who are placed before the courts, that they are the culprits, Brother Leland Saul here tonight on Politics 101. Those of you who are joining us a little bit late, the forum, the Coffee 250 forum on the emerging apartheid state is on this Sunday at 1 o'clock. It's a virtual conference, and it's going to be live. We want you all to join. Those of you who can get in to the room, it's first come, because you know there's a limit to the people who can get into the room. Try to get in there. We're going to get that information to you as early as possible. And we are going to be unpacking the apartheid state. Yes, we are boldly saying that Guyana is fast becoming an apartheid state. Guyana is fast becoming an apartheid state. And we are telling Anil Nandlal that you can quote all the laws you want to quote. You can quote all the laws. Who feels it knows it. If you don't live a house, you don't know where you leak. I said last night on this program, our Indians, brothers and sisters, do not try to understand us. They want to lecture us. They want to tell us who our role models should be. They want to tell us who our leaders should be. They want to tell us what name we must give the children. They want to tell us all kinds of things. I am saying we stop having masters in 1838. And even when they held us against our will in bondage, we didn't have masters. And we don't have masters today. The PPP are not our masters. When we freed ourselves from the plantation, we freed all Guyanese. Brother Leland, very soon decided to go after you a couple of days ago because of an article you wrote. Tell us, first of all, what you were trying to say in that article that you wrote.
Even before I go there, I just want to make a point, and I want to come back to this Coffee 250 forum. And I was somewhat disappointed when I read that the organizer had postponed the forum, because at that time I felt that we were allowing ourselves to be intimidated. But I'm very much pleased it is on. These very people who blocked a minister of the last government vehicle from exiting, or I think somewhere in Kingston area, and they were rocking the vehicle.
Yes,
Nobody didn't go after
at
them.
the Pegasus.
Right? And these very people now are coming to tell us that we can't speak an issue. Let them go to hell, man. Right? So I would have written on some issues that are affecting the Afro-Guyanese community. I was pointing out the way our resources are being allocated. And basically what I'm saying, that the government is racist, and there's a deliberate attempt to emasculate and marginalize people of African descent. And so Freddie decided to take me to task. The gentleman did not even try to analyze what I was saying. And he came frontal attacking me. And I had to do the right thing, and I defended myself. I know he will come again, but I am prepared for him, right? He has to sing for his meal. You know why he's doing that, right? You know why he's doing that.
and not and you are quite right. Some of us took the position that we are not going to answer Freddie Kissoon, and so he has been getting away with a lot. But we have decided, some of us now, that we are not going to pursue that tactic. We are going to hit back at him. Freddie Kissoon, as I have said, I don't know if he's a racist because I don't get into people's head to know how racist they are. But what I do know, he's working for racists and he's sleeping in the same bed with racists. And let people make their conclusion. His attacks on Black leaders have been relentless for 2 years. And some of us have decided, no more, no more. We are going to confront him. As Brother Leland said, he has to sing for his supper. That's his business. But you can sing for your supper without disrespecting Black people. That's all we have to say there on that. So, as I was asking Brother Leland, the whole issue of housing, Freddie Kissoon was talking about what happened when you were there and as the CEO of the Central Housing and Planning. Tell us about some of the things that were accomplished in your department when you were there.
Okay. One of the things that people do not understand when you are analyzing any situation, you have to do so in context in terms of what was happening. First and foremost, I would like to say that our entire allocation process and even the upgrading of existing housing scheme, those work were done in an equitable manner. We did not look at race or party supporters or creed and so on. We do what we had to do as a responsible state agency. I want people to understand that we were able, I do not have the facts there, and so I cannot remember all the figures, but we did distribute several house lots, built units, we rehabilitated roads and we improved roads in several schemes. Efforts were done in the regularization of housing schemes. Those are the informal settlement. We did work on the informal settlements to bring order in the informal settlements. And so people have to understand that. I am so sorry I don't have all the figures with me, so I cannot bring that to your attention. But a lot of things were done. Um, our policy basically was not to allocate house lots in areas that were not developed. We want people to go in areas where they can live comfortable. And so I know considerable resources were spent in upgrading existing housing scheme. And even if you go into the housing area now, you will recognize that there are many areas that are still unoccupied. And that itself is a problem because allottees are encountering problems in securing mortgages. And so that is something I think that government will have to work on to see how they can get more people to secure mortgages. We had that problem, and we did speak with the banking sector, and we were looking at other ways in which we can bring relief to citizens. Also, what we would have done in collaboration with the IDB, some studies were done to determine what exactly is the housing deficit in Ghana. And in 2019, the IDB determined that the housing deficit then, the qualitative deficit, was 25,000, and the quantitative deficit was 25,000, and the qualitative deficit was 60,000. Therefore means we had about 60,000 people across the country that were living in houses that need some form of renovation, needed to be upgraded, and so on. And so what you find right now, with the great demand for housing, something seems to be amiss there, and I think it requires some form of studying to determine what exactly is happening. Because when you look at the population of the country and you take into consideration the size of the family and even formation of new families, there's something that seems to be amiss. And you really have to unravel that mystery to determine what is wrong there. I believe that there's persons who are really in need of housing solution that you really, the agency is not addressing those person need, because if you go into certain areas, especially the informal settlement, you will see the state of housing there. And yes, still we are being told that government have allocated, I think, 12,000 house lots for the year already, or for the past 2 years. And you still have this great demand. It means that there are several persons who are in receipt of more than one house lot from the housing department. So I think it's something that um, the government will need to address and and see how they can solve that problem.
Leland Saul here on Politics 101 tonight on a Wednesday night. As usual, we spend our time here trying to teach ourselves, trying to organize ourselves, trying to inform ourselves. And this week, we are dealing with the apartheid state that Guyana has become. If you ask most African Guyanese, some of us are saying it's becoming, Coffee 250 said, is an emerging state, apartheid state, and they've gone crazy. They've gone crazy because the truth is what they try to hide. Racists don't like you talk about race. And we are going to continue to talk about it on this program. Tomorrow night, a member of Coffee 250 is going to be on. We're going to have Brother Adam Harris. He hasn't been on in a little while. And so we're going to have another packed show tomorrow night. We are going to try to get our brother from up there in Linden, Brother Nigel London, to come on. So as we get into the Coffee 250 conference, Coffee 250 forum this weekend, we are going in with steam. We are going in with the wind on our back. And Anil Nandlal and the PPP, they can cry, they can beg, they can cajole. We not backing down. The conference is on, and we are going to be talking about the apartheid state that is commandeered by the PPP. Leland, I know you were in the army, so you know something about law and order. Talk to us about your thoughts on what's happening currently in the police force.
Um, my brother, hear what happened. To be truthful with this one, because I have spent um, 25 years in the military, I work in the discipline services. I understand what is going on in the police force, and I wouldn't want to make any negative comment to further demoralize the ranks and officers there. Anyhow, I believe they need a lot of assistance and they need help. And I prefer not to make any negative comments because I understand how it can impact the officers and ranks.
And Ralph, let me get your thoughts, however, on the politicization of the police force and the armed forces in general whenever the PPP is in office. What drives that?
I think it's insecurity of the government. I believe that the discipline services comprises professional men and women, and the politicians should allow those organizations to function. Um, the current regime, they believe in total dominance and they need to dominate everything around them. And that is why you see the same thing in the bureaucracy, and it's the same thing in the discipline services and so on. I don't think it's good for a modern state. We should allow those organizations to function. And for example, our ministries, ideally, you should have a professional PS who should advise the minister and who should implement policies and so on. Likewise, I believe in the police force, and so on. Even though the head of state, he has that right to select who he wants to lead the police or the army. There is nothing wrong with that. But the problem is, if you're going to exert so much of influence on these organizations, and so they become a tool of the ruling party, I have a problem with that. Officers must be free to make decisions that are in the best interest of the nation and not necessarily the best interest of the political party in power. And so we have to move away from that and ensure that these organizations are truly professional organizations and people must feel comfortable, you know.
Brother Leland Saul there. We have some good news for you tonight. On Saturday, the 3rd of September, there will be the next APNU AFC WPA rally. You remember the first rally was held at Burnham Court in Georgetown? And people have been asking since then, what's up? What's the next move? Well, the next public rally will be in Golden Grove, Ground Zero, next week, Saturday, not this coming Saturday, the following Saturday, September the 3rd, APNU AFC WPA rally at Golden Grove, Ground Zero. Remember Quindon Bacchus murder. It's not over yet. We understand that the two policemen who were charged for obstructing justice, they were granted bail. We are waiting for the prosecution to begin this case. We know that the investigation was not complete and that there are others out there who were at the scene of the crime. Well, we are going back. The APNU AFC WPA are going back to Golden Grove to highlight that issue and to highlight all other issues. Look out for the advertisement, and we will descend on Golden Grove to remind the world of that murder. Leland, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would want to urge the public to go there and support these rallies and meeting and so on. It's very, very important because we have to send a strong message to the opposition. It's very important. Sorry, to the government. It is very important. And when we go there, in a kind of way, we are signaling to them that we will not accept this nonsense that is going on. We are confronted with a lot of issues as Afro Guyanese, as people in general, and not only Afro Guyanese. Look, this government is just ruling for a few people. As people would say, friends, family, and favorite, and that is what is happening. I want people to understand, even though I speak passionately about the plight of Afro Guyanese, I do understand what is going on to Indo Guyanese, to Amerindians, and other people in the society. And we all have to fight against this government to ensure that this country is properly governed. In relation to Quindon Bacchus murder, I think that there are many things that is wrong there, and based on what the information that is available, apparently there are other persons there who should have been charged, and I don't know why they have not been charged. I have listened to persons who are very much familiar with law enforcement and the way how these things basically should the investigations are done. And from all the evidence, it seems like there are other persons who are culpable, but they were not charged. I only hope that they, those who are responsible for the prosecution will do the right thing. Dr. Hines, are you there?
Sorry, here I am. I was drawing your attention to the PPP going around and throwing little gifts at the working class. But even as they're trained gifts at the working class, they are discriminating even among the working class people. I said in the introduction that a hamper is really a chain around the feet of African. These little trinkets that they go about, they go around the place giving black people, it's a noose around our neck, a chain around our feet. Your thoughts?
You know, it's part of the PPP, what I will call appeasement and containment strategy. And we must not settle for that. I don't know why people would want to. Perhaps they're in dire need and so they accept these things. But nothing wrong if you accept it. You must in, know, you must get those people to understand that you need more than that. And even as you talk about that, I notice the government has a temporary employment program. And for example, in Belgium, at the health center, they have scores of young people. And these persons are not trained in the medical field. And so it's a waste of time. I would be more supportive of a program that is designed to create some form of business for these young people, right? Instead of just giving them money like that, why not get them to form some group and maybe get involved in agro processing or some form of agriculture, and you give them some seed financing, and so they can take off, and you have someone to monitor the project instead of just giving people money like that. They're wasting time. You know, these people are not learning anything because there is no vacancy. There's no vacancy at these institutions where they put these persons. And so they just go there and they just laze around, right? And again, it's a part of appeasement and containment. So you do that and the people will say, okay, you're good, you're doing okay. But the people understand what is going on. They know that the government basically is wicked and they have no good intention. They just want to keep them in a state where they can control them. And therefore, we have to educate people and get people to understand. Do not fall for that. We have to show them an alternative. And even as we are not in a position to provide all the resources, I think we can educate people and we can mobilize resources. And we must be an alternative government. We have to do things to empower our people, even as we are in opposition out of government. And I know that we can do it. We have the brains and we can mobilize resources. And bit by bit, we can go through the villages and empower our people so they don't have to fall for the PPP's trickery.
And we want to say good evening to the people of West Babis, Belladrum, El Dorado, Seafield, all the numbers 28, Litchfield, Hopetown. We want to say big up to the people of West Babis. Your own is on here tonight, Mr. Leland Saul. And It's one of the important areas of our country. You don't talk about Linden, for example, without talking about West Bobbies. Lots of West Bobbicians went there to Linden to work in the bauxite field, and lots of people from the East Coast too, of Demerara, Maiconi, and those areas went to Linden. So when you talk about present day Linden, you're really talking about West Bobbies and these coast villages. I want to say good evening to the people of Linden and good evening to the people of West Bobbies. Politics 101 is on. We are going to be having that big rally on Saturday the 3rd in Golden Grove. So gear yourself up for that. But this Sunday, the virtual Coffee 250 forum confronting the emerging apartheid state. Yes, the jury is in, and Coffee 250 is concluded that we are marching quickly towards being an apartheid state and an apartheid country. And we are meeting on Sunday to lay it out for you and then to propose some roadblocks, because we've got to stop them. We've got to stop the people. And the first thing we do is to educate our people. The first thing we do is to make our people conscious of the kind of society we are living in, just like South Africa was. This is an apartheid state. And as Brother Nelson Mandela said, when they were about to imprison him, he said, there comes a time in the life of any nation when you are left with but two choices: submit or demand. We are at that point in Guyana, and we know we are not submitting, and therefore we have to demand. We are demanding that Guyana be an inclusive country. Because if you're not an inclusive country, you're an apartheid country. And our brothers and sisters in South Africa got rid of apartheid to ensure that Black people nowhere in the world get into apartheid. But the PPP seems to have other plans. But the stricter the government, the wiser the population. The stricter the government, the wiser the population. We are not resting. We are not turning back. We've been away from the plantation. We bolted from the plantation 184 years ago. And we are letting nobody, no group, no government, no party push us back into slavery. Anil, take note. Anil Nandalal, take note. We are saying here in Politics 101 tonight, it ain't happening. You can call all the law books. Law books. You can consult all your law books. We are not backing down. Come Sunday. Bring all your law books on Sunday. Guyana is an apartheid state. David Hinds says so. And we're going to be saying so until you all fuck it. Government, I see Wonderland, get out of the way, man. Outside. You are a disgrace to our country. Brother Leland, your closing thoughts, my brother.
Okay, I want to urge the citizens of this country to be vigilant, and they should not be coward. You cannot just roll over. You must fight back. You must demand equitable distribution of the nation patrimony, And whenever you see anything, you must speak out against it. It is your constitutional right to be affiliated to any group once they're engaged in legal activity. I know that there are many persons who are afraid to speak. Uh, there are many things wrong in society, and they will tell you, I ain't speaking out, I ain't saying anything because I don't want anyone to victimize me. They cannot victimize all of us. I want to urge you to support the efforts of the opposition. I want to urge you to support that Coffee to 50 virtual forum. Ensure you got a space in quickly. And I want to urge you to be very vocal. Whenever you see anything, you take to the newspaper, you take to Facebook, and you speak out against it. Do not allow anyone to beat you into submission. Our ancestors, those shoulders we are standing on, those shoulders we are standing on, they fought for their freedom, and we cannot squander it. And we cannot allow anyone to enslave us again. We cannot allow anyone to cause us to live in an apartheid state or an autocracy. We will not accept that. You can count on my support. I will continue to be vocal until things get better in this country. Ever since we gained independence, I think this is the worst time for us as a nation. And this is the worst time for us. I'm speaking here as an Afro Guyanese for Afro Guyanese. I have never seen anything like this before. I'm being very, very truthful. And that is why I have taken this conscious decision to speak out against this, what is going on, to fight against what is going on. I am not afraid of anyone. And I want people to understand that. I am not afraid of anyone. And I will continue to talk and speak out against the all forms of injustices that is being meted out to citizens in this country, whether you are Afro Guyanese, Indo Guyanese, or what. And that is me. For those who have
Leaders,
worked will know that I have been fair to everyone. I don't look at race. I deal with people. And even though today I am champion the Afro Guyanese cause, because is this because of the experiences of Afro Guyanese, the things that we are experiencing today in Guyanese society as a group of people. We have a government that is wicked, and that is what how I will term it. They're racist. You look at the allocation of resources, and you must ask yourself, look at the community in which you're living in, compare to other community. And and to my Afro brothers and sisters, many of you like to ask what the previous government did. I'll tell you what they did. They govern in an equitable manner. And that is why you never hear the other group of people used to say, they not get time with us. They govern in an equitable manner. They conform to the principles of good governance, especially rule of law. We have a government that don't care about rule of law. They don't care about transparency and accountability. You know, for months we have been operating without a PAC, a Public Accounts Commission. They have a commission now, it cannot function. There is no secretariat. We even don't know how contracts are being awarded. You look at the people getting contracts, some Some contractors, some people were, I don't know how those people are getting, and they're getting major contracts. I even don't believe they have the competency to execute those work. Perhaps they have technical staff. I really don't know. We have seen Thomas Road in front of Queen's College. That contract was executed, and the Minister of Public Works, he was boasting about the technology. They're using some geotech measure, something like that. 2 months after the road collapse, and that is what we have. We need to build capacity, and when one take into consideration that our budget, were the budget of this country for capital works, were it was very small. And then suddenly we increase it, but we did not build capacity to ensure that we are getting value for our money. And that is a problem. Do we have the technical staff? Do we have enough M&E staff to ensure that our contractors are conforming to the specification of this work? We have a government that is running to parliament ever so often for a supplemental budget. And yes, still we don't know how much the amount of monies that were expended, but they come back to parliament, we want more money, we want more money. And they don't give a report. Okay, I received $10. At this point, I would have expended $8. We don't know. They just come and say, we want more money. And that is, again, that is one of the major weaknesses of the Westminster style of government. You know, if you have people in government who are very uncaring and they don't care, they will abuse the system. And therefore, just like how I start, I want to conclude. The system is no good. We have to move to consociational democracy. Simple, we need shared governance, and that will solve the problem in this country. We cannot continue to govern this country in the manner in which it's governed. Or else, as I said, in the next 100 years, maybe my great grandchildren will be here fighting over this issue. Because once you have people who
Yes.
believe that they must govern at all costs at the expense of everybody else, we will be in this problem. And we might end up like some other country, like, that even
Like South Africa was during the apartheid period. Brother Leland, thank you so much for coming on tonight, making your first appearance on our program, and you certainly have brought light. Many people are suggesting that you should be one of the speakers this weekend. I shall take the missive back to Coffee 250 and your endorsement of Leland here tonight. As we do, as we always do, we bring our people to share, to commune, to sit around the fire and we cook cornmeal porridge, which we share with you. My feet is my only carrot, so we've got to push on through. That's Brother Blob. No woman, no cry. It don't mean that if you don't got a woman, you don't cry. It means no woman, don't cry. A feminist exposition in song by Brother Bob Marley. Good night to my brother there from number 51. Good night, Mr. White. The forum is going to be online. It's going to be aired on CAMS TV. So it's not face to face. It's a virtual forum, and it would be streamed live on several platforms: the APN UFC platform, Coffee 250 platform, CAMS TV platform. Good night to you, Mr. White, out there in Grove. And to all the good brothers and sisters who came on tonight, welcome. I'll see you, Elaine. Good night. Good night. And the Buxtonians, they're all here tonight. Brother Lester out there in New Jersey. Good night, my brother. And I know I have several of you to thank for your contributions to Politics 101. I don't have the names here on my desk, but you know who you are. Thank you so much for your material contributions to our program and continue to keep us online. Thank you all so much. And I'll see you tomorrow night. We're going to have a member of Coffee 250 on, and we're going to have Brother Brother Nigel London. We're going to try to get him on. Definitely Adam Harris is going to be on. Big show tomorrow night. Good night to you. Good night to my brother Leland for sharing his thoughts with us tonight. Tomorrow night, I see you. And remember, what's the word? Apartheid. Like South Africa. Guyana is an apartheid state. We're saying that, and we're saying to Aaron and Lal, back to back, belly to belly, we don't give a damn, because we know already that all you like the apartheid people. The PPP is governing Guyana like an apartheid state. Take them and smoke it in all your life.